before we went on the air, we got some major breaking news out of AM Racing. Hailie Deegan is out of a number 15 Ford for the Chicago Street Race coming up this weekend. Two-time Cup Series champion Joey Logano will be taking over that seat as he fills in for his first Xfinity Series start in nearly 5 years. And we have a press release out from AM Racing, and this is from team president Wade Moore saying the level of competition in the Xfinity Series is as competitive as it's ever been. It is our goal at AM Racing to field a competitive race team through our technical alliance with Stewart-Haas Racing and provide any of our drivers the best equipment and opportunity to be successful on track each weekend. With that being said, we haven't had the success on track that we were hoping for in the first half of the season. When the opportunity to have Joey in the car at Chicago became a possibility, we felt we needed to take advantage of a knowledge and feedback that a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion could provide to our team's growth. And Matt Weaver tweeting this excerpt from the press release out and also noting in a follow-up tweet, objectively, the entry needs points just to be safe to make races over the summer. And that is certainly true as we get ready for the Chicago Street Race coming up this weekend. And John Bender noting here as well, 43 entries for Xfinity for the Chicago Street Race. So no guarantee that Deegan would have made the field with how low that car is in points. Of course, no guarantee Joey Logano makes the field either. The amount of points isn't going to change just because a two-time Cup Series champion is in that car. But you would expect Logano to have a better shot at making it on speed than Deegan would, given how her season has gone here. So, Brandon, I just want to go to you first here and get your initial reaction. What is your reaction? What are your thoughts on AM Racing making this decision to bench Hailie Deegan for at least one race coming up here at Chicago?
It truly is my initial reaction, Ben, because I haven't really been in the news cycle today, just kind of been in La La Land and other different places. But man, that AM Racing is making a real business decision here, aren't they? To to take Hailie Deegan out of the Loop 110 in Chicago, which we didn't really see too much of last year because of the downpour of rain in the Chicago area. And I told you when you told me the news before the show. This is probably where I'm going to stay. This felt exactly like 2018 when we discovered that Trevor Bayne was going to be booted out of the Roush Fenway car.
Talking about Trevor Bayne and it being a similar situation to 2018 when Matt Kenseth replaced him and that seeming to come out of nowhere. Just a situation where you look at a driver's performance and you have the opportunity to bring a veteran in. I think absolutely, the Deegan fans even have to admit that it makes perfect sense to put a Cup champion in the car if you have an opportunity. And people who watch this show, who watch any of our grid programming, who read my writing for lastcar.info, certainly know that I am not a fan of Cup Series drivers coming into the lower divisions. But I think in this instance, it is certainly an understandable decision on the part of AM Racing, and you can't help but wonder if Joey Logano goes out and has a strong run this weekend. It'll be even more telling based on the driver's performance so far this year. And that press release did note there have been some questions. How much of an alliance is there really? Is it basically SHR equipment? Is it just a technical alliance of some sort, or what's the deal there? Certainly getting some irrefutable proof that it is, in fact, an alliance with SHR. So that's even more damning, in my opinion, for Deegan's lack of performance this year. But I will say this, it did seem to work for AJ Allmendinger at Red Bull in 2008. He got sat out for a few races, came back and was much stronger. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., if you want to bring up another Roush example, got sat down in 2010 in the Xfinity Series, or Nationwide at the time, and came back and rebounded very well from that, had a third place run at the summer race at Daytona. So it has worked in the past. If Hailie Deegan can take this opportunity as a wake-up call to maybe sit on the pit box this weekend, learn from a two-time Cup champion, and see if she can take any of that and use that for momentum for the rest of the year and not use it as a downer in terms of her morale, I think that would certainly be the best case scenario. Certainly what AM Racing is hoping for, putting a Cup Series driver in that car. And it looks like we have Brandon back here. Brandon, sorry about that. I know it's a terrible feeling.
Well, I think it was on my end for sure, and it looks like I'm being replaced by Joey Logano too for this episode. I'll be expecting him to come in here shortly. No, you're making some good points there, and I was able to hear you while I was out, so just for the majority of that. So I was listening in. Yeah, Hailie Deegan being on the pit box, I see that they have to do this. It's necessary to do make some sort of change. Um, I just, and you talked about the precedent of where this has happened before and how it's help some drivers like AJ Allmendinger come back stronger on the other side. Um, I just hope it does the same for her. And I wonder how much of an improvement we may see with Joey Logano in the AM racing equipment, if any. This will really be the true test. I mean, you got a two-time Cup Series champion. This will really be a true test of, okay, where is AM Racing's equipment? If you're putting the quote best of the best in there, is and it's at a street course. This is the only street course that um, they're going to all year, so it's very unique kind of place. Might look at Joey Logano's results last year on the Cup side and see where this correlates. I'm curious to see if we will see a big improvement just because there's a different driver in the car.
And I'll also note as well, Brett Moffitt in the AM racing car in this race last year finished in fourth. Of course, it was a very strange situation with the weather
Yeah.
postponing the race, and ultimately they called it before they even got to the halfway point because of the logistics of trying to put a street course race on. Sort of an unprecedented situation for NASCAR. So hopefully the weather cooperates this weekend. But you're exactly right, Brandon. I think this is going to be very telling. If Logano, I mean, you would certainly expect him to, I would think, at least finish in the top 20. If he's any worse than that, then I think you really look at whatever equipment AM Racing is getting from Stewart Haas or whatever alliance they have. It's clearly not a very good one. But if Logano can go out and contend for a top 10, top 5, maybe even be up there in contention for the win, I don't know how else you read that other than, well, it clearly hasn't been the equipment this entire time. But again, I think sometimes being sat out, being benched for a race or two can wake up a driver, and if anything, you think it might be a detriment to their morale or confidence or whatever. I think you've seen that with Logan Sargent a little bit based on what happened in Australia. But the deal with Sargent's a little bit different because that was him being replaced on a weekend where it was his teammate that actually made the mistake. So a bit of a different dynamic there. Of course, like the press release said, it has not been the start of a year that anybody at that team wanted. We talked about it on this show before, just in the last couple of weeks. We had Joy Tomlinson put that article or column out at Front Stretch wondering, should Deegan go back to the ARCA series to try to, improve in her performance and results. Certainly that would be, I think, a much more enjoyable experience than what this has been. Twitter user actually pointed out something. I haven't been able to verify this, but it appeared that Hailie and Rhett Jones Racing followed each other on Instagram this weekend. You can make of that what you will. Maybe Deegan would get some races in that 30 car. Of course, they've been running some Xfinity races as well with Noah Gragson, so who knows what might come of that there. And we have some comments in the chat room here from Alex Fleener asking, does Deegan maybe buy out a driver in a lower car or the 53 Gase car, even though it's a Toyota? Well, I think if Deegan buys out that ride, Joey Gase's team, they've run all three manufacturers this year, depending on who's been in the car. It's been a Ford when Frankie Muniz has been in. He's a Ford performance driver, but it's been a Toyota or Chevrolet at other races this year. So if she were to do that, I would think that they would rebadge that entry as a Ford. But I don't know if Deegan has the sponsors or funding or partners in place to be able to do that on such short notice. We'll see. It would keep her playoff eligible, I suppose, although with how she's been performing, it would probably just take a shock win on a lightning strike, rain shortened situation or a drafting sort of deal at Daytona. Who knows? But that would be the only reason I would think Deegan would want to try to continue to enter this race and buy out a ride. I don't know that that's going to happen, though. And Alex mentioning here as well, Gase cars are split over manufacturers. So maybe that would be an option. But again, as John points out, 43 entries for this street race. There were no guarantees with the AM racing ride that she was going to be able to qualify for this race, let alone Gase car. We'll see what happens if anything. But I've got a feeling it would probably be best for her to be on the pit box and listen into the team communications with Joey and listen to what a two-time champion has in terms of feedback and what he can provide to the team. Because again, as much as I'm not a fan of Cup drivers racing in Xfinity and trucks, I think in a situation like this, if it's well within the rules, it is certainly understandable that this would be an opportunity that AM Racing couldn't pass up.
Yeah, and AM Racing also obviously believes that they can finish, that they deserve to finish better than where Hailie Deegan has been finishing when she does finish. And also, what comes to mind too is also the folding of Stewart Haas Racing at the end of the year. Their technical alliance with them, they've got to be realizing that they're on the market for, okay, who are we going to align with next? We need to show ourselves out in the market that we are someone worthy of aligning with and growing with. And I think about the two Haas factory team that they're going to put to keep Ford alive, and the Xfinity side of things, and the one in Cup. You got to know that they want to be a part of that too. And the performance they put up, I mean, they can look at numbers too. The performance they put up in the first half of the year, that's not really a good audition for where you're going to align yourself with next.